Anyways, if I rewind a little here, I think I should. Hold on. Let's see here. Right. Got that. Got that. Let's see what's going on here. Um, I mean, this is like a. Let's see. Hold on. I think. I think I will edit this. Yeah. Hopefully. Holy fuck, you idiots. Let's see. I have to edit this just right. Holy fuck. Never mind. Stupid ass YouTube. Only allow me to have X amount of stuff. Okay. Damn it. Okay. Alright. Let's get to it. Um, so stuff put strains on, would put strains on my friends in the adult industry and stuff like that. And there's a reason why I'm doing this stuff. Uh, let's get into this here. I'm always so right on the stuff of why people need to have to go through a legal process of coming into this country, so they're vetted. They know that there is, sex, child trafficking, cartel trafficking, drugs, all this other stuff. And there's a lot of people that say, you know, why are you doing this? I shouldn't be doing this. And that's the reason. Is because my ancestors did it the legal way, or if my ancestors are tribal, then, so they're whatever, they're already here, etc. So, there's a reason. And they're taking so much of our resources, America's resources and stuff. Um, get a lot of stuff for free that they shouldn't and stuff. So, anyways,
On another note, I don't even know how to begin this. I actually don't even know how to begin talking about this. This is so ridiculous.
Joining me now, Stephen Miller, White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy. Stephen, good to have you with us as well. You know, we heard President Trump say not too long ago that these operations were not going to be directed at farms and hotels and longtime workers who had built relationships with the owners of these different businesses. This is a marijuana.
The one guy that has not let me down even once is Baldy. Bro, not even once.
The largest marijuana operation in California. Does that directive apply to this place?
No.
Well, first of all, the president has been clear and consistent in saying that he's going to fight labor trafficking and child trafficking. And this marijuana plantation is a clear-cut example of labor trafficking and child trafficking, which are heinous crimes. Additionally, I don't know of anybody except the governor.
I still say, treat people how you want to be treated, stuff like this. People doing this to me, I'd be shooting them left and right. I don't give a fuck. They should have been shot dead, in my opinion, for doing this stuff. Anyway.
Of California, who would argue that a marijuana plantation is an essential component of America's food supply chain. And everywhere you look in California,
I don't even care that they're growing weed. I just care that they're having kids there. Why are there 8 unaccompanied minors on a weed farm? That seems like a problem, doesn't it? I don't know. Run them over? No, as I've already given my opinion about the rocks and everything.
You see industrial child exploitation on a massive scale, an industrial scale. There are likely...
Stephen Miller is the Grand Inquisitor.
Like I said, those people are not going to give law enforcement any respect unless they fight back, unless they hit back. I'm always right about this. I'm right. I don't care what anybody says. That's just the facts. People don't like it. Oh well.
Been waiting on this for a while.
Hundreds of thousands of children in California who are being exploited for their labor or sexual...
Little fun fact about this guy.
Sexual trafficking.
In high school, his high school quote was a quote from Teddy Roosevelt about how no man can be an American if he has any allegiance to any other country other than America.
Exploited as part of sex trafficking.
Yeah.
This administration is liberating these children and helping reunify them with their parents back in their home country. With the Biden administration...
This is another thing. 350,000 to 500,000 kids missing. And not with their real parents. And they're being trafficked through the border. Why in the fuck is it mainstream news like stupid NBC, CBS, Fox, ABC, CNN, and MSNBC are lying to the people all the time, saying that these are legal people down here legally, working legally, stuff like that. They're doing nothing illegal. And you find out later that they're wanted for rape, murder, pedophilia type of stuff, child sex, all this other stuff, and yet these stupid news agents, again, do not trust mainstream media. Do not trust them whatsoever, because they're lying their asses off and everything. And I know that the more I talk about stuff like this and say that more delays that I love in the adult industry are not going to want to come on ever and do stuff with me. And the thing is, if we disagree on stuff, I still want them on. See whatever they want or whatever. Some say it is what it is, anyways.
Administration
That's
did
nice.
with respect to child trafficking is one of the great crimes in human history. Over 500,000 children
That's a lot.
were illegally trafficked into the country under the previous administration. When we've gone and looked for these children, Martha, the addresses that the U.S. government provided, In other words, the records that the government kept under Joe Biden are all fake. Nobody ever checked if the addresses were real. Nobody ever checked if the sponsors were real.
Law enforcement in different states.
Why does nobody go to jail for this then? Like, I mean, this is like, it's like criminal negligence, isn't it? I mean, it has to be.
Real. Nobody ever checked if they were really even relatives or parents or relations or safe. We recently recovered a young illegal alien, for example, who had been raped repeatedly by the adult male that the Biden administration handed to her. She was under
Wow, what a surprise. Who could have ever guessed that?
constant video surveillance and was coached exactly what to say if an officer ever knocked on her door so that she would never be rescued. We have example after example. We go to homes, 13, 14, 15-year-olds.
Do not trust the bullshit that mainstream media puts out, like CBS, ABC, Fox, MSNBC, and CNN put out. Don't trust them because a lot of them are putting out lies saying that these people were following the law. All these people that get arrested, you find out that they have a record that they're wanted for something. So a few of them have been innocent. That's a lot different. But overwhelmingly, they are not.
Children who are raped on a daily basis because the Biden administration, because the Democrat Party chose to traffic them into this country. So we will be unrelenting in our effort to free these
understood.
kids.
Yeah,
I think that after the Epstein thing, I know Steven hasn't let me down yet. But who exactly was ignoring all of this stuff and letting this happen? Because there had to be a person at the government that was letting this happen, right? Like a clerk, a decision maker, some bureaucrat. There's a name that's attached to this. Because every action inside of the government is logged for what you do. Like, for example, at the IRS, whenever I work there, every single process of the entire tax form processing like cycle system was documented and assigned to an individual. This is the way that the government works. This is the way that almost every sort of company works.
Right.
There had to have been people that ignored this. Where are they? Where are they? Yeah. That's the question. There's a chain of command at the top. Then go get them.
This is a huge story, and the Biden administration tried to push them out of these holding facilities at the border and into the arms of people who were picking them up. There were some cases where
one other thing is that where I live here in Southern California, by LA, stuff like that, pot farms, is that there's a lot of gangs that grow these. There's cartels. Everything, same thing where this is happening is stuff, it could be as well. This is why they're so pissed off throwing rocks and everything, because you have criminals that are running these pot farms and everything, and that's why they're wearing masks and everything, to hide their identities and everything. This is what I know personally about some pot farms and people that grow this stuff and everything like that. So
one person picked up 150 children. So I doubt very much that was, their uncle.
Not all their children.
Let me just bring this to your attention, Stephen. This is Gavin Newsom's post from last night. I want to show you what Gavin Newsom said, and then we want to do the Karen Bass statement as well. So he posted this last night. Kids running from tear gas, crying on the phone because their mother was just taken from the fields. Trump calls me new scum, but he's the real scum.
Why are the kids on the fields? How'd they get there?
And then he goes on to say, of course, I condemn any assault on law enforcement. You
shit
poster. Now do Jan 6. This is coming from
the people on January 6th were in jail for 5 fucking years. Or 4 fucking years. It's not like they just didn't have anything happen. Like, and also, by the way, if you committed the crimes that the people that got put in jail for January 6th for, Assault on a police officer, destruction of federal property. Do you know what that is here, at least in Texas? 3 to 5. It is.
Yeah.
How do I know that? Because I know people that have been charged for that. It's 3 to 5 years.
From Governor Newsom. And Jimmy Gomez, a Democrat in California, at midnight last night, posted how many MS-13 gang members are waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to pick
They all got
straw.
pardoned, though, so why? They got pardoned after serving a sentence that would be equivalent to the sentence that they would have served if they had been convicted for the crime that they theoretically committed. I don't even support pardoning the January 6 rioters. Well, I support pardoning 90% of them, but not the 10% that were bad actors. And I think that Trump made a mistake by doing that. I think it was stupid. I'm not trying to support this, but I'm trying to add in that let's not act like this was a completely invalid action. He didn't pardon all of them. Some of them he pardoned. I don't think he should have.
Strawberries. Oh, yeah. 0. Your reaction to those?
Look, California and Los Angeles are waging insurrection against the federal government.
That's a fact.
They are protecting those who traffic in the suffering of children. And by the way, do you know why so many of these unaccompanied alien minors are being put to work in slave wages and slave conditions all across California to pay off their cartel debts? The Democrat...
That is also because they don't have to pay them $20 an hour minimum wage by California. Where a citizen, a person that works fast food, or at these other places, you have to pay them $20 an hour. Who wants to pay a person $20 an hour? They can't do that. So they have illegals doing this stuff. That's cheap labor. You got child trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking, stuff like that. This is why we need to have a legal process for people crossing the border and everything. There has to be a legal way of doing it, vetting these people. That hasn't been happening in I don't know how long. Sometimes even for decades. Both sides are blamed for this, not just one side. It isn't just, Biden and stuff like that. This goes back to, some say could say even Reagan in some instances, stuff like that. Then George Bush Sr., Jr., then Obama. Obama deported the most amount of illegals, 3.6 million, though. If they called it a deporter in chief.
Party is funneling these profits from rape, profits from exploitation, and yes, profits from murder, into the hands of the cartels that control the north of Mexico, that assassinate politicians, that assassinate judges, that assassinate women and children, and that smuggle fentanyl into our country.
He's not holding that. By the way, anybody knows that they're not having Pam Bondi on? Anybody else notice that? They're having him on instead of Pam Bondi. I noticed that right away. Just saying. Yeah,
from rape, profits from exploitation, and yes, profits from murder, into the hands of the cartels that control the north of Mexico, that assassinate politicians, that assassinate judges, that assassinate women and children, and that smuggle fentanyl into our country. Cartels are waging war against America, and their allies are the Democrat Party. And their allies are the Democrat politicians that are incentivizing these migrant mobs to try to murder our ICE officers in cold blood. I never thought we would ever see the day when Democrats...
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. He's cooking.
Yep.
He's burning, man. Wow.
Politicians would use language and use rhetoric that would encourage illegal aliens and radical left nonprofits to try to murder ICE officers. But that's where we are right now. And what we are seeing done to this country is the mass theft of wages from the middle class to the migrant mobs. And that has to stop.
It'll be interesting to see if the cartels are involved in any of this protest action. We don't know that yet. But I want to play this from Karen Bass, the Los Angeles mayor.
The funniest thing about the cartels is that the only cartel, as far as I know, the only cartel member who was actually on record talking about Trump said that they respected him because he was doing what was best for his country.
Others,
Yeah, well, what would you say to Donald Trump? Respect.
Others want him dead.
Like, because they get it. Like, they know.
Thing is, a lot of them want him dead because they're making billions, hundreds of billions of dollars off of this human and sex child trafficking. It's not just Mexico, but you got Honduras, all these other South American countries. Gangs are in these South American countries when they go through, what they have to go through to get here. And they have to pay for protection to get over here, or else, if they don't pay for that, they're not going to help them. Sometimes they'll keep them away. They have to pay law enforcement, they have to pay these gangs and cartels, and sometimes, to keep law enforcement away from them, protect them from law enforcement, to get them through the border. This has been happening, and I've done videos on that, including how dangerous it is for them to get over here. People should look that up. There's a lot of murder, rape that happens, and stuff like that. It's a nightmare it getting over here, and so a lot of people still owe these cartels and gangs money when they get over here. They have to keep paying it off, and they're being trafficked, and they're just making money off of this, and that's what human, trafficking is about, and got sex trafficking and everything else. And for any of the ladies that I know of, that probably hate, some of the stuff that I'm talking about, or anything else, or anyone else, is that you have to look at this from what's really going on with the child trafficking, sex trafficking, the drugs, the fentanyl, and everything else, and what's happening in tribal areas that I know of. Women disappearing, girls disappearing in tribal nation areas. Fentanyl, drugs killing people. And yet some of the stupid tribal people involved in these areas, or whatever, they think it's okay. They don't want a closed border. And obviously they don't care about their own people.
No, obviously, yeah, I remember that exactly, yeah. They don't think they want to mess with Trump? Well, no, it's not that they don't want to mess with him. It's that they understand, the guys that are running these cartels aren't dumb. They're not dumb people. They're smart guys. They're reasonable, intelligent, and they're calculated. They can understand why Trump is doing it, and and the reason why is because they understand the advantage.
I don't know where he gets it. You say God from one person. That makes no sense. From all the cartel people that I've heard of, they want him dead and stuff like that. They're using drones to fly in drugs. They're using drones to get stuff across the border, and they've lost billions and billions and billions of dollars. They hate what Trump is doing.
They're gaining over the United States. Yeah, they're smart as fuck. And also, by the way, this is true with any of these terrorist organizations. You remember, that Twitcher terrorist thing? Those guys were really well-spoken. They were well-educated, intelligent people. Don't go and think that these are just a bunch of savages that are running this shit. No, these people are smart. They know what the hell they're doing. They're educated, they're measured, and they're intelligent. Now, that doesn't mean that, every person in the organization is, but it means that their leadership is. Absolutely they are. Some are ex-military? Yeah.
Yeah. Law enforcement? Yeah.
A lot more educated in the West? Yeah.
Military, all that other stuff, yeah.
Who is discussing offering cash assistance from the state to migrants who are impacted by these raids. Here's what she just said a short time ago.
We also are going to have a reinstitution of the Angelino card, something that Mayor Garcetti started
Angelino
during
card?
COVID,
Is that the
that
gold
will
card?
actually provide cash assistance to people. Because, you know, you have people who don't want to leave their homes, who are not going to work, and they are in need of cash.
You piece of
Stephen, your
shit.
reaction to that suggestion?
It is a crime to furnish money to criminal aliens to facilitate their evasion of federal law enforcement officers. You have illegal aliens, for example, who've been ordered removed by an immigration judge, who've received, frankly, an obscene amount of process over a period of years, more than any American citizen ever gets, that are defying that removal order, that are hiding out from ICE, and then you have the mayor of Los Angeles paying them to evade law enforcement. That's a crime. And again, another example of how
It's a crime,
Aiding
then
and
why aren't
abetting.
they in jail?
That's a federal offense.
Then put them in jail. Do it. Then arrest her. Yeah.
Yeah, why are you arresting?
I think that if Donald Trump arrested Gavin Newsom and this mayor of Los Angeles, I'm not even kidding you. I think it would undo the Epstein stuff.
It would. It would.
I think people would stop giving a fuck about it
Yeah,
because
they would.
it would be exactly
Well,
what a lot of his voters want.
It would deflect it.
It probably would. I'm being serious.
Yeah, it would.
That would be news? Yes, that would be insane. If he arrested them and put them in jail.
That would be a way to divert news attention from all
the
this.
city government of Los Angeles is waging a campaign of insurrection against the federal government. Let's be very clear. What would Los Angeles look?
For Trump, that would be heaven sent. That's heaven sent. It's like, hey, I know what to do. Let's arrest Newsom and Bass. That'll solve our problems. That'll take the heat off us for a bit.
Like without illegal aliens? Here's what it would look like. You would be able to see a doctor in the emergency room right away, no wait time, no problem. Your kids would go to a public
that.
school that had more money than they know what to do with. Classrooms would be half the size. Students who had special needs would get all the attention that they needed. There would be no violent transnational gangs. There would be no cartels. There would be no Mexican mafia. There would be no Serenos. There would be no MS-13. There would be no TDA. You would be living in a city that would be safe, that would be clean. There would be no fentanyl. There would be no drug dens. That could be the future Los
Nobody
Angeles
would
could
have
have,
nothing
but
bad
the
would ever
leaders in
happen.
Los Angeles have formed an alliance with the cartels and the criminal aliens.
All right, Stephen Miller.
She's going, whoa, he's burning, he's cooking. He's barbecuing. He's barbecuing these people, yeah.
From the White House,
Wow.
thank you very much. Once again, we just want to make
Jesus Christ, bro.
this point that these kinds of operations were not met with violence in prior administrations. So you have a very different dynamic
Holy
that is
shit.
going on here, and a lot of dangerous.
Yeah, I've been saying, so I've been saying on YouTube is that Obama deported 3.4, 3.6 million illegals. Nobody did shit to prevent him. Nobody whined, nobody complained. Why? Because the Democrats were doing it. That's why.
situations that are resulting because of it. Stephen, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Alrighty. Let me get that one. Let's see. Which one is first? Let's see.
So DOJ released footage of Epstein was edited with Adobe Premiere Pro and stitched from 2 clips.
The raw Epstein footage was modified according to its metadata, despite...
This is from CoffeeZilla Extras, by the way. Shout out to him and stuff like that. There's some stuff that I agree and disagree with him, just like anybody else. But anyway, shout out. He's the one that did this video here. Me and Osmond are reacting to it, so. Damn, it's freezing. Wait. It's because they're stupid ass ads or whatever. Which news? not exiting.
Dan.
So DOJ released footage of Epstein was edited with Adobe Premiere Pro and stitched from 2 clips.
The raw Epstein footage was modified according to its metadata, despite Dan Bongino previously saying that they would release the original footage so you wouldn't think there were shenanigans.
There's video. We are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans.
Well, unfortunately, that's not what we got. Even the raw video, the original video, was put into Adobe Premiere Pro. This is a scoop from Wired. Quote, metadata shows the FBI's raw Jeffrey Epstein prison video was likely modified. And basically, they pulled the metadata and showed that the footage appears to be assembled from at least 2 source clips, saved multiple times, exported, and then uploaded to the DOJ's website, where it was presented as raw footage, which technically it is not. Now, I pulled the EXIF data myself. This is what it looks like. You can see that there's these ingredients file path here, where you can see 4 different files. 2 of them are just identical. So 2 unique files here.
I'd only accept this if it was to compress the file. Well, here's the reality, is that a lot of these things they can sometimes make sense because the file type would not be something that they can upload, and they are re-uploading it in a better file type or with a different type of resolution. And so, like, there are, raw data is huge. Yeah, exactly. So, like, there are reasons for that.
That have been basically...
again, it's another point on the graph. Exactly.
Stitched together is the most charitable interpretation. But look, the stunning incompetence, if that's what this is kind of hard to take. Just over and over, they sort of hype up what they have and then deliver something different in a meaningful way. I mean, you cannot say, hey, we're going to give you original footage so you don't think there are shenanigans, and then you splice together 2 clips in Premiere Pro. I mean, yes, maybe you didn't do anything with it, but it kind of ruins the whole chain of evidence. Wired actually quotes a professor of UC Berkeley whose research focuses on digital forensics. He has testified in numerous court cases, and he says, if a lawyer brought me this file and asked if it was suitable for court, I'd say no. Go back to the source, do it right. Do a direct export from the original system, no monkey business. So that kind of puts it all together. I mean, maybe this is all charitably just incompetence. Charitably, it was just...
I think this is the problem. The problem is that there have been so many of these things that have happened at the same time and in a row that it's very hard to say that any of this was a coincidence when the coincidences just keep happening over and over and over. That I mean, there's just too many fucking coincidences, man.
Hey, there was a minute at night missing because it's an old analog video system and there were 2 different files. They spliced it together. But even that is like, was done horribly in the worst possible way. For instance, the video aspect ratio suddenly shifts as the tape changes over or whatever they claim.
Yeah.
You can see that right here. There's like a sudden shift in the video. I have not changed this video in any way. I have it in the Premiere Pro timeline, which I guess they had as well. So this is as intended. So there's this just weird shifts in the footage. I mean, this was done in actually a very sloppy way after they explicitly talked about needing to do it in the right way.
He's reaching. I think that all of these things can be explained, but here's the problem, is that this is the 3rd or 4th video he's made about this.
Right.
How many coincidences are you going to have that all align with the same outcome before you think to yourself, maybe that's the outcome? How's he reaching? Well, let me explain. So this is pretty common in like video editing, that they probably just resized it inside of Adobe Premiere Pro because they are putting all of the videos together. Because with multiple, in a lot of video software, like if you look at, for example, this says 11:58 p.m. So oftentimes videos will cut at a certain period of time to create another file. because obviously, like, you can't just make this infinitely long file. And so the file will stop at a certain point. Like on Twitch, for example, if somebody's doing a 24-hour stream, like an ongoing subathon, you'll notice that their streams are 48 hours every single time. Here, I'll give you a direct example right now.
YouTube is 12 hours.
So if I look at the Twitch tracker for my 24/7 channel, you'll see that a lot of my streams are exactly 48 hours. Why are all of my streams 48 hours? Well, it's because that's the amount of time that somebody can actually go and watch the, and it can hold data for. But would the aspect ratio change? Yes, it would, and let me explain why. It's because they could have done a bad job with it. So, for example, they're taking the aspect ratio, and you can see these black bars. Right. The aspect ratio does not match the editing area for the window that they're editing the video in. So basically, they're putting the video, if I can explain it like this, because I've done video editing, I know how this works. You take a video, and it's like an old World of Warcraft video, and it's 4:3. So you take this video, and you put it in there, and it looks like this. But then you have a second video that you're putting in as well, and then the second video is like this. Because you resized the original file incorrectly, because you did a bad job. As a video editor, Zach is right. Yes, I've edited videos. I know this. Yeah. Now, every system is different, and I don't know how this system works, and maybe in this system, this problem isn't relevant. They're hiding something. Here's the problem. All I'm saying, you guys, when you're a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
The problem is they can't
You don't
win.
have to be a
Even if
hammer.
they're telling the truth, they can't win at this point.
You have to look at data, and you should always apply what I believe to be the null hypothesis of the scientific method. You assume that what you believe is not true, and you work backwards to find out that it is true. You think of plausible deniability, you think of other reasons why things could occur, and that helps you arrive at the truth more effectively than beginning at your answer. But the footage is not raw. The footage is not raw. It is not raw, almost guaranteed. Right. Well, by definition, it's not raw because it was taken through Adobe Premiere. If it was raw, it would be the direct file from the video.
Right. It wouldn't have that skip either.
So this is as intended.
Yeah,
so there's this just weird shifts in the footage. I mean, this was done in actually a very sloppy way after they explicitly talked about needing to do it in the right way so the American public could rely on it.
I'm not going to withhold information from the American public ever, but I'm also not going to rush to get it out there in a format in which they can't rely on it.
Except that's exactly what they did. The promises that were made are just consistently not kept. When you go on Fox News and say you're gonna do it right, you're gonna give us the original video so we don't think there are shenanigans, and then you do this, yes, we can interpret you charitably, but it leaves room for doubt. It's not only the case.
It does leave room for doubt. And again, the problem is that there are so many, and this goes back to what I said, there are so many other points on the graph, and every single point on the graph points to this being a conspiracy and a cover-up. There is nothing logical about assuming that none of this was a cover-up and this happened completely organically. No logical person could come to the conclusion that all of these things just happened to happen simultaneously, and it was like some weird stars aligning. Everybody it's like some kind of like Rube Goldberg machine that makes Jeffrey Epstein the only person. Like, it's bullshit. Total bullshit.
That at 11:58 p.m. the aspect ratio changes. It's also the case that the enhanced version and the raw version also differ from each other in how the aspect ratio changes. You can see that originally the enhanced and the regular raw version line up perfectly in terms of aspect ratio. But when the camera flips over to this new day, now their aspect ratio is actually off from each other.
Exactly. And you can see how it's probably because the new day signified a new recording, and the new recording was then resized wrongly. That's what I think happened.
Yeah.
I actually don't think this is a smoking gun.
So why?
I don't.
mean, this is like so obviously bad. They said they were taking their time with this. They said, "Oh, we're no shenanigans here." But this wasn't a complicated job. It was just about like they did mild sharpening and contrast boosting. Why they're playing around with the aspect ratio like they're a film director in their first year of film school is unimaginable to me. I just like cannot understand.
And Coffee's right about this too. Is that how the fuck do you not get this right? Like I got this right in 2008 whenever I made videos in Windows Movie Maker.
I bet I could.
This is the FBI communicating information to the national public, and you're fucking it up?
Why you would be doing this in such a sloppy way. So just incredibly incompetent work here is the nicest way to say it.
Yeah.
We know now
it's
that
it's incompetent at absolute best.
Epstein footage that they have released to us, even the raw footage was modified. Last thing I want to say is that it's the final day of Crime is Legal merch. 10% off at the link below now.
Yep, there it is. And you remind us all we are. Yeah, there has to be some sort of diversion. Whoever's responsible is corrupt and they have funding. Yeah, I don't know. If Trump's first order of business was to fire all the competent people in government, well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like they weren't there to begin with, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. Would you want a resignation over this? I think that the person who is, I mean, actually, yeah. In a way, I think I would want a resignation over this. And the reason why is because of how mismanaged.
That's kind of ridiculous when Trump could be a bigger part of this, definitely could be a bigger part of this than people think. Just say it could be that. Anyways, let's.
Tucker Carlson made some.
Hold on. Before we get started, there's a lot of stuff that I hate about Tucker Carlson playing stuff, but thought I'd just listen to this just the hell of it.
Some pretty interesting comments about a certain individual.
I don't like to vote, but I did vote this time. And I don't like to vote because I don't believe in any of them. And this time I really felt like I know Trump well. I love Trump personally. And what we were looking at was just so awful and totalitarian and stupid. And it wasn't even the arguments that I disagreed with from the Kamala Harris. It's weird even to say her name now. Who was that exactly? It was like a bad dream. But it wasn't even so much the arguments I disagreed with, though I definitely disagreed with the arguments. It was the style of argument that drove me completely bonkers, summarized most crisply by "shut up, racist."
Yep.
Whatever you said, it was "shut up, racist." It's like, but wait, first of all, I'm not a racist, but that's not even the point. The point is, I just told you what I think. I just asked you an entirely legitimate question, mostly, what the hell are you doing? And rather than answer it, you didn't pay me the respect that you would a human being. You treated.
They don't pay you the respect because they don't have it.
They don't have
It's used as a way to shut people up because they're afraid of the label. It's controlling people with language.
Me like
lose an argument. We start to lose an argument. You're saying, person's gonna say that you're racist or fascist or whatever, because they have nothing to counter your to debate you with anymore. I mean, I'm not all white and everything like that, but it's crazy the racism that I get from people, that don't even know me and how people look at me here, where I am and everything. It's pretty bad where I am and everything, and it's just terrible. But
slave or an animal by telling me to stop barking. Shut up, racist.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't put up with that because I'm not a slave or an animal. I'm an American citizen, an adult man who pays his taxes. So, I ask people questions for a living, and very often I get answers that I don't care for, that I disagree with, that I think are stupid. But at least they're answers. At least the person responding is treating me like a human being with a soul created in the image of the Creator. He's paying me the respect that every human being is due. When you ask a direct question to someone in charge, you are due. That person is morally bound to give you an answer.
And this is going to the
He's not
Epstein.
bound to agree with you, but he's bound to stop and answer your question. And the left never did that. They would dismiss you out of hand.
I think actually Tucker Carlson's bringing up a really good point, and I think this is how a lot of people got radicalized, is that why can't we ask questions about obvious things? Why can't we talk about this? And as soon as people can't talk about something or they feel like they're being suppressed, it radicalizes them.
Not worth listening to. Be quiet.
And again, I'm not on any political side. I'm not. I hate politics. I hate politicians because I know plenty personally, and they're all dirty rats and liars and stuff. But I just have to put that out there again. So.
And that's, of course, where the impulse to censorship comes from.
So radicalize me?
It comes from the belief that you don't deserve to speak because you're not fully human. They own you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I voted against.
I think I don't know if I really agree with that conclusion, but I agree with the evaluation of the problem. I think it's that they view certain types of ideas as being dangerous, and they think that it's more...
Both sides are like that, though. You go to other countries, politicians in their countries are the same way. They have their own views on, what should be censored and what shouldn't, and everything like that. And no matter what one side says about, here in the U.S. about free speech, they all believe in it only if they agree with your speech. If they don't agree with it or if they hate it, then they believe that they have the right to censor your speech. That goes for any political side, though. And that's where the hypocrisy of these politicians and people come into play.
More important to protect people from those ideas than to engage with them?
Against, above all, I voted against a million different things that I hated about the last administration.
Sure.
Their insane desire to start pointless wars around the world. Their total unwillingness to protect this country domestically, to protect the people who live here, to protect the territorial integrity of the country, bringing in tens of millions of people illegally, giving them free stuff the second they get here, making a mockery of citizenship.
Yeah.
I hated all of that. I hated all of that. But the thing I hated most was their total unwillingness to answer any question about why they were doing what they were doing, because it was just too insulting.
I think this is probably the point where a lot of people got mainstream radicalized against this was actually with COVID. Yeah. I think that the way that the government handled COVID and the way that you couldn't question or ask any sort of dissenting opinion about COVID radicalized, I think, a large enough contingency in the population that the damage that did, the trust with the government,
I know people that did die from, supposedly COVID. There was underlying health issues. It wasn't just COVID, yet they were told, health officials were told to say it was COVID when it wasn't. I don't give a fuck what ShitTube says or whatever and everything. I stop the disinformation with that. That's the reason why they don't give me a lot of views, but fuck them, I don't care what they think. I don't. But, with that censored, when YouTube and these other companies are being paid by pharmaceutical companies to censor people. This includes mainstream news. Pharmaceutical companies pays these companies to put out a narrative and to censor people. They're paying them. That's the thing.
It put it back by like 20 years.
And every single time I would just feel like raising the middle finger and screaming obscenities, which is not an adult response, I'll concede, but that's how I felt. And I think that's really at the heart of why the Epstein thing is so distressing.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, the guy was some weird sex freak who was abusing girls.
Yep.
We knew that. But the fact that the U.S. government, the one that I voted for, refused to take my question seriously and instead said, case closed, shut up, conspiracy theorist, was too much for me.
Well, it's also that I think that he's not going hard enough, at least not yet. Trump was the one who pushed it. He was the one that started putting out names. He said Prince Andrew. He said Bill Clinton. Why the fuck were you saying this if it wasn't true? Why were you saying this? And he either owes us an explanation or he owes them an apology. Because going around and implying some guy is some sort of collaborator with a generational pedophile and kind of insinuating that they were doing the same thing is total reputation destruction. Complete reputation destruction. Why the fuck is he not coming? Like, I think he should be held accountable for that.
I think so, too.
You're just making up bullshit. Never apologize, right? Well, it's not even about that's not even true. You should apologize if you're wrong. If you're wrong, you should apologize. Never apologize if you don't think you're wrong. You can apologize if you think you're wrong. That's fine.
Yeah, if you don't,
but an explanation is needed at least.
And I don't think the rest of us should be satisfied with that. And by the way, let me just say really quickly, because I was so mad about it that I think I found out part of what's going on. I think we are going to find out more. And I think the truth, for whatever it's worth, in case you're interested, is that the DOJ didn't release lots of incriminating sex videos with Epstein and his billionaire pals because they don't have them. They don't have them because when the original...
They said they had them.
It's more likely they
search warrant was served 2007, I think, possibly 2006, I think 7. It was basically designed to protect Epstein. The search warrant was written in such a way to make sure that the feds never got their hands on the actually incriminating evidence. It's another way of saying the cover-up has been going on since 2007, almost 20 years. And so the real question is not, was Jeffrey Epstein a weirdo who was abusing girls? Yes, we can answer that. The real question is, why was he doing this, on whose behalf, and where did the money come from?
Yeah.
And those are the questions that need to be answered. And I think it's entirely fair to ask them.
True.
And it's not adequate to say anyone who asked them is somehow desecrating the memory of little girls who died in Texas. I'm not going to put up with that answer.
It's a bullshit answer. It was probably, I think it may have been the worst answer Trump has ever given to any question ever.
I mean, I understand why he said it, but the way he said it, the way that Trump said it, was awful. Because, oh, people are still talking about it. It's like, yeah, it's all over the news. I do understand where the kids in Texas, people in Texas, should be on first. I'd be a little pissed to say, hey, of course I'm not on the list. Epstein's list either. I just say, you know, I say, I don't know, I wasn't running on putting it out Epstein's list either. But, you know, I mean, I'd be pissed, you know, and say, hey, what about these people that are dying right now? I said, listen, we'll get to that later. We'll get to Epstein later. Right now, our focus is on these kids and these people. That's what I'd say. But it's like the way he said, the way that Trump answered that, made it sound so guilty. And I think other people thought that. And I saw how Rubio, you know, like I did that video, how Rubio, he's become an ace in handling this stuff. His body language did not really change. He's changed a lot. I was looking for his body language, and he's very indifferent, didn't show much. So.
Care who gives that answer. That is not acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of intel services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask, on whose behalf was he working? How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree?
GP, why would I praise Allah for? What has Allah done for me? What has Allah done for us? What does Allah have to do with us? There's one thing when people come in and talk about God and stuff like that. Let me tell you something. If I was God, there wouldn't be all this violence and justice. Most of my life, I've been in and out of death, a lot of it. I've had gone through the pain and stuff like that, like having multiple cancers and stuff like that. I know pain and suffering that most don't know. No, he did not. Allah did not create all of this. These religions are fake. I've been to the other side, I've been dead many times. These religions are not real. These human made-up religions are bullshit. There's not just one God, there are many gods and stuff like that. It's like there is, but there isn't. But to say that God, Allah or this or that God, I hate that shit because I've been dead. I wouldn't practice Islam or that stuff because I don't believe in that stuff about having all these other women and marry, younger children, stuff like that. I've been around some of that stuff. I don't like it one bit. I do know exactly what I speak. I know exactly what I speak. And I don't like also how Islam treats their women either. I don't like extremism in any religion either. I don't like that. I don't like religion the way that it is here because it's made by humans from different tribes. What's fake news? tell you what's fake news because I'm the real deal. I'm the only real one here right now. The real God, God's love all people, not just one stupid ass religion. So, I mean, this is the thing. I don't like this stupid ass religious stuff. It pisses me off. Because it's based on stupid tribalism and different tribes and stuff like that. So people say, praise this, let me tell you. If any real God would not allow the violence and suffering of people today, people getting sick, dying of cancer, disease, violence between animals, and people not having money for health care, for groceries, for food. I wouldn't allow that to happen as a God. And I do. I know quite a bit. I know quite a bit about the Muslim faith. And I don't like it. I don't like, a lot of Christianity. I don't like a lot of Judaism. I don't like this other stuff. I threw that shit out a long time ago. There's stuff in Buddhism that makes more sense. And the thing is, if you've been to the other side, like I have, that one so-called God that's many, not just one, loves all people. It's not about one stupid religion, but all people. All right? So I don't want to say this is our way, we're the only way. That's just a crock of bullshit. I foresaw this stuff happening a long time ago. People chatting with people about this. I'm not here to talk with you about Muhammad or whatever. I don't give a shit about fake stories. I don't. So, I mean, hell, I'm not here to talk about that, dude. But, anyways. That's that. I hate religion. It pisses me off. Because I find people religion are about the biggest hypocrites that there is. I know because I've been to churches and stuff like that. Now they talk to people and all sort of stuff. They're not going to have that crap.
To having multiple airplanes.
If I was God, I'm not allowed this fucking shit to happen on this planet. Wars and all sort of stuff. Famine, disease, cancer. I'd actually care about you. And I see people suffer. I see people in pain and suffering. But this guy comes in here, GP comes in here, talking about Allah and stuff like that. I don't want to hear about any God.
Private island and the largest residential house in Manhattan. Where did all the money come from? And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government.
From my limited understanding of history, it seems like one of the historical figures that Epstein is kind of similar to is Rasputin. Because Rasputin was able to infiltrate and get involved inside of the Russian family and create incriminating evidence and basically establish himself as a confidant and a piece of power inside of that. And I think that Epstein did the same thing. They're a whole circle. Yes, exactly.
I mean, that's subjective, though. That's a whole different thing, Rasputin. Thing is, he was the only one that could heal Nicholas' son, Tsar Nicholas' son, and everything. He was the only one that could keep healing him. But he was having supposedly his orgies and stuff like that, and um, the royals that were related to our, I believe it's Nicholas. I believe it's our Nicholas. Boy, history. Wow, I used to do all this stuff, the czars and everything, because I used to be related to them. But he had the reason why they didn't kill him is the princess kept pleading for him not to be put to death and stuff like that, is because he was the only one that was able to heal the only heir to the Russian monarchy. No one else could heal him. And he had this, what they call the royal curse, that only royals seem to have, where royalty, they'd have so-called curse where they just start bleeding and stuff like that for no reason. And this is going off track and everything, which I wish. Anyways.
I don't know. Maybe that's a crazy thing for me to say, but I feel like from what my understanding is, it's a big stretch. And I think that maybe if I knew more about him, I would realize that I'm wrong. But from what I understand, it seems pretty similar.
Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into
similar.
Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with
Shut it down. Shut it down.
saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA.
Sure.
That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things, murdered a bunch of people, participated.
I don't really care what you are that much. It doesn't really matter if you're LGBT or whatever. I love all people as long as you respect me and stuff like that. Though I'd say one thing is I don't believe that people should have should be able to transition until they're 21. That's just me. But I respect all people as long as they respect me. I mean, it's like, I can laugh at certain things. People can laugh at me at certain things. I can laugh at certain things about other people and everything. So, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. Am I Jewish? 1,000 years ago, my family was. Some of my family was. Not anymore. Why? So a 19-year-old could die of war but cannot choose their genitals. Listen, let me tell you something. Alright? Most kids are brainwashed in schools about sex. When I was in school, let me tell you, a lot of us learned from videos or whatever that we used to watch or whatever, because what they taught us in schools wasn't enough, or else we learned on our own, alright? And the way that is now is mostly politics in schools, or else they teach that stuff, they try to brainwash kids. I believe you should learn that on your own. Whoever you want to be what you want to be, but you should wait until you're 21, because kids don't know as much as they used to. I could say 18. But kids these days are not as smart as they used to, most of them. I see kids in schools being politically brainwashed, sexually brainwashed in certain ways. And if you're to, you want to talk about, cutting your genitals or doing stuff, your brain should be fully matured. And for guys, their brains, it takes them longer than it does for women to mature and stuff like that. But I knew one guy that transitioned back in the 90s and stuff like that. And stuff like that. This before, everything got, radicalized and stuff like that. I don't care if you transition, I don't. But I think you should actually be 21. Not 18, but actually 21. Because I believe you should be who you want to be. Whatever, sexual preference. Be who you want to be. But I don't want stupid church. I don't want stupid school people, parents, do who you want to be. But I don't want people being brainwashed or told how they should be. But when you have genitals being cut off, I believe that should be 21. And you can disagree, that's fine. If you don't like that, that's fine. But I just say that's my view. I don't see kids being educated like they used to in school. They aren't as much as they used to. I see more, politics happening and stuff like that. So, I don't care if you're gay, lesbian, trans, or whatever. I really don't.
The murder of a sitting U.S. president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. Good. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person.
Well, I'd say it makes you an American. I think there's a certain degree of for example, I think that there's a big difference between criticizing the CIA for having too many connections to Israel and criticizing ICE for arresting illegal aliens, right? I don't think these are the same thing. But at the same time, again, it's your right to be able to do that.
It makes you a citizen. You're allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interests.
Why is it that we have why is it that we allow AIPAC to even have any influence over our politics in the first place? If there was a political action committee that was for the CCP, everybody would lose their fucking minds. You know why? Money? That's bullshit. I don't believe that. You think Israel are the only people that have money?
No, all these have NGOs everywhere.
There's plenty of other people that have money.
NGOs everywhere. Politicians, politics on,
That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden.
You can hate Israel as much as you want, and I don't like what they've done with Gaza. I don't. But we need Israel as well. We need Israel as well. And, both political parties, are influenced by the donors that they have, which is billions of dollars that are funneled to them. By billionaires or political, religious agencies, stuff like that are given to Democrats and Republicans. Same happens around the world. if you're to hate Israel, hate these other people for their influence as well on America and other countries, Europe as well, and everything else. So.
And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow. That that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has...
I think that also there's been a secondary reactionary effect because some of the pro-Palestine people have been so aggressive and ridiculous with how they behave that it's alienated some people away from the cause and towards Israel, which I think is inaccurate. I think that, you know, again, you should never support something as a reactionary stance from somebody else's behavior.
Been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate online, where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house. You have had all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad?
Interesting question.
Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of a foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that. I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one...
Well, why aren't they coming out and saying it?
Right. Yeah,
That's the problem. Is that Tucker Carlson can say that people are telling him this behind closed doors.
We need the proof.
But we need to get these people out in front of an audience and saying it. They're bought off. Very easy solution there.
I could say anything about, I hear this from the CIA, NSA, intelligence, or other groups. But unless I'm putting other people on here talking about it, receipts or whatever, people just say I'm full of BS. That's a fact.
If they're being bought off by a foreign government in order to subvert our government, that's treason. So charge them for it.
You're not charging anybody for treason these days. Everybody's
That's
doing
it.
It seems like. But anyways.
Just do it. And again, it's treason, and yes, exactly. And the reason why, and they call it lobbying, it's career suicide.
It is lobbying. That is.
Well, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, they can choose between career suicide or capital punishment, in my opinion.
Right.
Go ahead. Pick your poison. In this case, literally. People are such pussies that they allow these malicious bad actors to take advantage of them and to ruin everything. They ruin fucking everything because nobody wants to call this stuff out for what it is. Nobody wants to take decisive, deliberate, extreme action because they're afraid.
Feels they can say that. Why? I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes.
It's true.
Did this happen? And of course, that question has been asked to the government of Israel, and their answer is, we're not going to tell you.
Oh.
And I think our answer should be, no.
Yes, you are.
As long as we're sending you money, if you were committing crimes on our soil, we have an absolute right to know, did you do this or not?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, if we're sending them all this money, why can't we just withhold it unless they give us the information?
And yet everybody has been so brainwashed into thinking that's somehow an expression of hate or bigotry when it's not. It's a baseline question that every U.S. citizen has a right to an answer on. What the hell?
And Israel has done this, and a lot of pro-Israel lobbies have done this too, and they have maligned people inaccurately as anti-Semites when they are in fact just critical of Israel's actions.
Right.
Oh, was this?
And again, I don't approve any of that stuff that, how bad it's got in Gaza. However, I don't like how Hamas has controlled everything that has happened in Gaza. And I've seen it with my own eyes, I've seen it on video, them using the UN to smuggle in terrorist groups with weapons, them holding AK-47s. I've seen the UN and Hamas working together. This isn't from another source. This is me seeing it firsthand. This isn't second, third-hand information. This is me seeing it with my own eyes. That's a lot different. I don't care what anybody else says. When I see with my own eyes how much Hamas, you and have worked together, and they're not allowing ordinary people to get food and medical supplies and fuel that they need, it's going for their terrorist organization. They get all stuff first, other people get last. This is how it works. So.
And by the way, if it turns out that it was nothing at all, that somehow Jeffrey Epstein really did earn $165 million giving tax advice to somebody, which is, for the record, a lot more than most people pay their accountants.
It's bullshit. And the reason how you know it's bullshit is because if Jeffrey Epstein gave some kind of, world-class, nobody can think of this tax advice ever, then why didn't these people that were involved with him start paying a lot more taxes after he died?
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
And that none of this was actually a foreign intel operation, and that there was no blackmail involved, that actually Bill Gates was just hanging on the island because the weather was especially good. No one was videotaped doing anything immoral or illegal, and then that was used against them to get them to obey. If all of that is false, then just tell me how it's false.
How do we know that?
Yeah.
What do you think?
There are the pictures. There's video. There's pictures of these people.
What do you think? Do you really think that Do you really think that after Epstein died, they had to pay twice as much in taxes? Use your fucking brain. Just think for 1 second. You don't need... This is the problem that a lot of people have. Not everything has explicit empirical evidence. Sometimes you have to just make a guess. You do. And I'm making a guess. I think I'm right. Common sense is a comment. Yeah, you've got to be able to make a guess. Let's call it extrapolating from incomplete data. Yeah, it's bullshit.
But don't call me a lunatic. And when Fox News runs a piece, as they did yesterday by Hugh Hewitt, saying that anybody who's got even more questions about Epstein is some kind of nutcase with an unhappy personal life, who's spending too much time on Twitter in the fervid fever swamps of conspiracies. Up yours, buddy. Then why don't you answer the question then? Don't let anybody insult you, anybody, and I mean anybody, ever get away with insulting you instead of answering a legitimate question.
That's a fucking fact. That is a fucking fact. That's perfect. I love it.
Okay? Ever. And by the way, you will hear certain people say, well, that means you hate the person. No, it doesn't. I've got a bunch of kids. I would never let them get away with that. If I caught one of my kids, smoking weed in the bathroom at my house, I was like, are you smoking weed in the bathroom? Shut up, racist! You hate me! No, you're my child. I don't hate you. Answer the freaking question. Were you smoking weed in the bathroom or not? I'm not the criminal here. You seem to be.
There it is. No, he's fucking right. He's completely right about this. And let me see, I can pull up some more about this too. Okay, here we go. Notice that JD is staying pretty quiet about all this. It's because he knows he doesn't want to stink of his name on it for the future. I don't see the reason why he needs to get involved. It's not really his thing. I mean, why would he?
Obviously, that's absurd. I quote the New Testament, but I also refer to common sense when I say that no man can serve two masters.
Oh, boy. I don't want to get into the religious stuff. I think there's been enough of that. But anyways, I think that's about it. I think it is. Could do mafia stuff. Anyways, I think that's it. Anyways, Hope everyone has a good morning and night wherever you are. Peace out. Take care.